Hi, everyone. So, welcome back to the Madalada channel. I'm Madeleine, if you guys don't know already, and I'm making a video today on my diagnosis because I did make one on my, I guess, main personal channel, Madalada Munden, called My Diagnosis, but what I haven't done is include the full kind of story. Obviously I don't have every single detail of the beginning part of the story because I was literally a newborn, but I do have part of the story as a 17-year-old, which I will get into. So, first things first, I already have more information than I did a few years back. So when I made the diagnosis video at 17, I had way less information than I do now at 18, almost 19 years old, because I'm 19 in February. Scary. But so that gives you, like, I guess, a gist of how much time has passed between the making of 17-year-old Maddie's video and 18-year-old Maddie's video, almost 19-year-old Maddie's video. So anyways, when I was still in the womb, in my mum's womb, they already knew things weren't going well because of the scans. So they could already tell there was something wrong. Like in one of my scans, they literally couldn't see if I owned a spine or not. They literally were looking for my spine because they couldn't see it. In another one of my mum's appointments, they did an amniocentesis, which is where they stick a needle into the womb and extract some of the DNA, and they test it for genetic problems. So yeah, they tested my genes because they were certain there was something going wrong with the pregnancy. And then also we had amniotic fluid leaking out, which it's not supposed to, obviously. That's supposed to keep the baby safe, so if it's leaking, there's more risk of infection, and that's what happened. I got an infection, and this then created the cysts in my brain, as I've explained before. And those cysts, when they burst and when they were created, made holes in my brain because it damaged my brain. So obviously when I was born, well, when I was first born, they didn't know this because they hadn't done a CT scan. So when I was about, well, first of all, I was taken into the intensive care unit, and then when I was about 3 weeks old, they did a CT scan. And what that does is look into your brain using radiography, which I think is really cool. So they took these images of my brain and they discovered there was 3 holes in my brain where the cysts had burst and destroyed brain tissue. So from that, they diagnosed me with cerebral palsy. And my initial diagnosis was that I wouldn't be able to walk, I wouldn't be able to sit up, I wouldn't be able to talk, I would be tube fed. What else did they predict? They said I was going to be severely disabled. That's the judgment they made looking at my scans. So obviously, as time went by, my family had this diagnosis of me, and that diagnosis wasn't as predicted. Now, that's because my brain obviously adapted to the damages, and I know that some people aren't so lucky that their diagnosis wasn't accurate for them later on in life. I know I'm incredibly lucky to be how I am today. But anyways, so they diagnosed me with cerebral palsy, said it was going to be severe, And then as the years went on, obviously as I started to walk and like sit up, which took a lot of effort, that was no easy task. Don't let me make you think it was an easy task, because it was not. But yeah, they eventually saw me walking and talking and feeding by myself, and so obviously my diagnosis was still cerebral palsy. I still have cerebral palsy, but it isn't accurate for current me. So then when I was 17 years old, I was at a doctor's appointment, actually for about a potential surgery, and I said to the doctor, I said, my original diagnosis was severe cerebral palsy, and I know I have spastic diplegia, but could you please give me, like, in your professional opinion, what you would say my full type of cerebral palsy is? And so obviously after doing these assessments, he said that I have asymmetrical spastic diplegia with upper involvement on the left side. So that sounds like a mouthful, and a lot of people, every time I say it, are like, what? So to break it down, asymmetrical means not the same. So when something's symmetrical, it's the same, right? Asymmetrical means not the same. Spastic diplegia means mainly affecting like the hips downwards, but obviously when I say this, it's not like all just the legs, but it's the majority of it is like my hips downwards, but it does interconnect with things, and there's still parts of me that is affected that isn't just my legs. But that's the main thing that's affected, is basically what spastic diplegia means. And then, sorry, I'm gathering my thoughts. And so I have an upper involvement on the left side, which basically means that the left side of my body is weaker than the right side. But that normally means that the right side has to work harder because the left side is like not working as hard as it should be, which means that the right side works harder than the left. Like, for example, when I was learning to swim as a kid, one leg would just be like completely still and the other one would be like kicking. And that's because one leg was doing all the work, and I would do this without thinking, and people would point it out to me and I'd be like, oh, I didn't even notice, because that leg is so used to taking on the burden of the other leg that leg was just still while the other one was like working away in the water. So that's an example of how that works. Obviously, well, not obviously, you might not know from this video, but like I can use both my legs. Luckily, fortunately, I'm grateful for that. But one side of my body is weaker than the other side. But not to like, the difference between like my weakness in my other side and the weakness in like hemiplegia, where it's like half, is that mine isn't directly half is weakened. Mine is just a side of my body is weaker, but not to a massively greater extent than the other side, if that makes any sense. So anyways, back to what I was saying. So he said I have asymmetrical spastic diplegia with upper involvement on the left side, because also when he was testing my arms, he noticed that my left side was weaker than the right side. So yeah, sorry, I have back pain right now. That's why I'm stretching and doing this every 5 seconds. If you wonder if I do that ever in a video, it's because I'm straightening my back and trying to make it less painful. Just in case you wonder why I'm doing this constantly. So anyways, so I had my original diagnosis at 3 weeks, then I had another, not formally written up, but another like professional opinion said to me at 17 years old. So basically 17 years later, I got an update. And now, my god, my back, sorry. And now, at 18 years old, I've been learning more and more information about what was happening at the time of my first diagnosis, and obviously I have the memories from the second opinion people gave, because I was there and I can remember, but obviously a newborn baby cannot remember anything. And I've been learning more and more information, so I will keep you updated if I find out more information, because I find it interesting, because when I was younger I didn't know as much as I know now, And so I always think, I always think it's good to ask questions and to be like, why, what was happening, what was going on at the time. Every now and then I will say like, well, what happened, and I would ask again and I'll get more details. So that's always a good thing. Also, I stayed in hospital till literally my due date. So like, I was born on the 18th of February and then I came out of hospital on April 23rd, which was literally my due date, which I find kind of cool. Like, I literally left the hospital on my due date. So yeah, I was in intensive care for a while. But yeah, I just wanted to make a little, I guess, update video on my diagnosis. It's not changed, but I have found more information out, and I wanted to encompass both of them, because in the one on the Madalada Munden channel I just mentioned the 17-year-old one instead of the one when I was a baby. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it wasn't too rambly. I tried to stay consistent. Thank you guys so much for watching. I appreciate it, and have a lovely day. And if you want to comment down below your diagnoses or any questions or anything like that, just anything, let me know, or any videos you want to see. And until next time, goodbye and have a lovely day.